Tonight's the night. And it's going to happen again. It is finally here, everybody. Dexter New Blood premiere tonight. It is like 3 a.m. right now. I had no knowledge whatsoever, being the huge Dexter fan that I am. It's pathetic. I didn't know that this thing was premiering at midnight on streaming services. I had only saw that this thing was going to be debuting at 7 p.m. on Showtime, or 9 p.m., whatever it was. So came as a huge shock to me that an hour after most of you saw this premiere, I see people tweeting about how great it was, and I was like, what the hell's going on? Did anybody just travel forward in time? So nonetheless, I got my ass out of bed, I sat, watched the whole premiere episode, and now I am here to talk with you about it because I cannot sleep until I discuss this thing. This was awesome. So if you guys are just finding me for the first time, I just spent the past year and mostly the past month or so doing all of my Dexter reviews. I went back through all of the seasons, I rewatched the series, I did deep dives into what I liked and what I did not like about each season. And one thing that I certainly hammered home on was that I was completely dissatisfied with the entirety of season 8, but especially the ending, the last couple of episodes where we left off with Dexter, what they did to Deb. I hated it. I absolutely hated it. On rewatch, giving it time, I still hated it. And I am one of those Dexter fans that have been waiting for years for them to finally come back and right the ship. And as soon as they announced Dexter New Blood, which ironically was like a day or so after I dropped my season 1 review, so I like to think that I willed that into the world, I became absolutely ecstatic. The trailers looked awesome, the stills looked awesome, the fact that we got the showrunner back from the first 4 seasons had me very excited and very optimistic. And if this premiere episode is any indication of what we're going to get for the next 9 episodes, this is going to go down as one of the best seasons of Dexter, and hopefully a phenomenal ending to the show, and totally wash away that bullshit that was season 8. So the episode really wastes no time. It gets you right into where Dexter is 10 years later. He's living under the alias of Jim Lindsay. He's living in this fictional little New York town. It's covered in snow, it's cold as shit, and he basically lives in isolation. He lives in this little log cabin out in the middle of the woods. He does have a girlfriend who is, I couldn't tell if she was a deputy or if she was one of the main just officers in this little town, but he is dating a cop, and everybody around town knows him. Everybody around town seems to love him. It's one of those small towns where everybody knows everybody and their mother. And it's a very different change of pace, a very different obvious change of setting, and change of tone from what we know Dexter to be. Everything top to bottom is different, from the way that the camera shots are taken, from the way that they transition from scenes, the lack of the monologue, the inner voice in his head, his dark passenger is absent through most of this episode. Even just the kind of pace that the show had, it's just a very different show. If you could have told me that this is a completely different character before they revealed that it was Dexter Morgan, most of this episode you could have had me believe that, because this really doesn't have any stylistic ties to the previous 8 seasons. And through most of the episode, I gotta admit, I was a little mixed on that, because while I totally want this to feel like its own thing, and it should feel like its own thing, I kind of missed some of that style. I missed some of the monologue. I missed some of that kind of fun, quirky tone. This is very serious, dramatic, and very dark as far as the tone and the pace of what Dexter New Blood is so far. But then you get to the point where that dark passenger comes back, to where he finally succumbs once again to his urges. He kills that guy at the end of the episode, and then you just hear that voice come back like an old friend, and he looks in the mirror, hello Dexter Morgan, and it was just like he was saying hello to all of us again, like, hello bitches, daddy's back. And so I'm sure the show is going to carry on with still having a very different feel to it, especially just because of the setting alone. This is not bright, colorful, lively Miami. This is very dark, quiet, still New York. And I think they're going to incorporate some more elements of what we're used to, though, as far as the monologues and the voice in his head and the narration and all of that stuff. I think that we're going to start to get more of that Dexter feel as we go on, and that's very exciting that they're going to be able to have that really cool mix of the old and the new. I gotta tell you though, one of my favorite elements of this episode, and hopefully something that they're going to continue throughout this series as well, is these really subtle details that lets you know that this character is Dexter Morgan without letting you know that this character is Dexter Morgan. Just small things, from him bringing donuts to work every single day like he used to at Miami Metro, to him answering the phone to his girlfriend's call and says, "Hey you," just like he used to always say to Rita. Even something that is just a complete Easter egg, where he's cooking breakfast right there with Deb kind of bitching at him in his ear, and he's cooking the ham steak and throws the hot sauce on top of it, which is right out of the opening titles from the first 8 seasons. All those little tiny details just made me smile ear to ear throughout this episode, because it's not beating you over the head with these little references. It's not drawing your attention to it like, "Hey guys, remember the great show that you love?" It's just tiny, subtle little details that they throw in here that totally fits that creature of habit that Dexter is, but also fits this new show to where he's still kind of hanging on to pieces of who he was while being somebody completely different. I'm really intrigued on where his relationship with Harrison is going to go. I was a little on the fence when I heard that they were going to be bringing Harrison back. Obviously that makes sense for a story direction, to have this kid who's now in his, 15, 16 years old, something like that, coming trying to find his father.
What are you doing?
Are you Dexter Morgan? It's me, your son.
Harrison.
I'm very curious if they're going to bring up what happened with Hannah, if anything, or if Harrison knows that his father's a serial killer, since he's been presumably raised by a serial killer, and she probably wouldn't have hidden a whole lot of details about who Dexter was. How many events of the previous 8 seasons are going to be brought up, either with Harrison or later on? Very curious about that. And one thing that I did notice too, and I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but is it not weird that his girlfriend, this cop, looks almost exactly like Deb? Now, if you watched my season reviews, from season 6 onward, one thing that I consistently bitched about is I fucking despise the whole storyline about Deb being in love with Dexter. Never thought that was a necessary storyline, never thought that it felt organic whatsoever, and they didn't do anything interesting with it anyway, so they didn't even really have that much belief into it. So I thought it was very odd that, almost in a very subconscious way, this girl that he is attracted to, that he is forming this new life with, and maybe even presumably loves, has the same job as Deb, has the same haircut, has the same body type. I mean, aside from her nationality, that might as well be Deb. So I don't know if anybody else picked up on that detail, but when I noticed that, I went, I wonder if that was intentional or not. But man, I gotta tell you, I was just on cloud 9 as soon as he started hanging up that plastic. As soon as the old tools started coming out, he started making that kill room, and he's got the guy strapped down, starts having those old conversations about tell me what you did. I was just smiling from then on. I laughed out loud when he did the little boo thing too and got the guy to scream. That was fucking awesome. And I love how ferocious he is. I don't know if it's gonna continue that way, but at least for this, you never really saw Dexter get angry with people. Not very often. He was always calm, he was always collected, he was always in control of his emotions for the most part when he was in that moment. And it really called back to the premiere episode of season 1, all the way back at the beginning of the show, where he grabs that guy and he's like, "Look into what you did, open your eyes or I'll cut him off your face." Like, when he just lost his shit with that guy, that was very similar to how he was doing with this guy, where he was just in his ass about, own what you did, tell me what you did. And the fact that he just, we're past the point of no return, buddy. I was like, you're damn right we are. Stab that motherfucker and let's go. So overall, guys, I loved this premiere episode. It was pretty much everything that I could have asked for from Dexter. I think we are in store for one hell of a treat for the next 9 episodes. Didn't really have anything that stood out as a negative, nothing that's worrying me so far. Definitely some curiosities, namely with his girlfriend, if they're even gonna address that, and where the story's gonna go, as far as what details are gonna come out about the previous 8 seasons that are relevant to this. And we haven't even got into who our big bad is going to be. We know it's going to be Clancy Brown, but where he comes into the story, I have no idea, but I can't wait to see it. So as a Dexter fanatic, I'm in love with Dexter New Blood so far. For a premiere episode, it did everything that it needed to do to get me excited for what they have in store for us. So let me know, guys, what do you think of the premiere episode of Dexter New Blood? Are you a Dexter fan from all the way back when it was airing on Showtime? Were you recently turned on to it? Did you hate season 8? Did you love season 8? What do you think about this first episode? Let me know all of your thoughts down below and we will talk about it. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if you're a Dexter fan. Like I said, I've got 8 season reviews that you can check out in the backlog, and we're going to be talking about every single episode of this show. Still on the fence if I'm going to do a live stream, but I'm definitely going to do an edited video for every single episode, so look forward to that. Thank you for watching as always, and remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean you have to be.